Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the 505 podcast. We are back, and boy, do we have a guest for you all today. Woohoo. This is a long time coming. 20th episode.
Yeah.
We made it to the big 2-0, and there's a very large percentage of podcasts that don't make it to 20. So this is fun. This is really exciting for all of us and our guest that we got to bring on today. Coach, why don't you give me a little bit of a backstory on our guest?
I want to hear this.
So we have the legendary Danilo Lewis in the building today. Clap it up. So Danilo is one of the best concert photographers that I know of, and super talented guy. And the way that I got to meet you was through our mutual friend, Maddie. And it came about because I got the opportunity to shoot EDC, Las Vegas, for the first time. And I was freaking out because I had never shot a concert before, let alone a festival of that magnitude.
That's wild.
Isn't it wild?
Yeah.
Thrown into the fire.
Yeah, literally thrown into just the Super Bowl of concerts.
Yeah. And so
literally.
And so I wanted some advice, and you were like the only mutual friend of a friend that like I knew that I could hit up, or that I like. You were the only person that I knew of that shot concerts that I had like a mutual friend with.
Okay.
So I hit up Maddie and I was like, Maddie, like, can you put me in contact with Danilo? Like you told me.
I like how you just go for like the top. Like, let's not get advice from like the other guy. Let's get one
someone
from
in
like
the
the
middle.
top, you know?
But she's told me how nice of a guy you are. And I was like, do you think you'd be willing to like have a phone call with me? And she's like, yeah, of course. Texted you. And dude, I just want to say thank you because
Yeah, it's a real nice move.
Yeah,
right there.
seriously.
you didn't have to do that. And I asked you a ton of questions and you answered them all, and you really helped ease my anxiety a little bit. And yeah, man, I just really appreciate that. And now we're here. So
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. I love it.
When you were starting out, was that a thing, you asking other creators for advice? Because I know when I was starting, that was just like, I DM people, I was getting left on red all the time.
It was, but it wasn't as helpful. You know, early on, especially like, I want to say like when it became a serious thing where I was like, okay, now I really want to know about this, or what it is to like to tour or anything like that. Big events, big concerts. How should I prepare? What I came across was a lot of older guys who were very territorial.
Oh, I bet.
And it wasn't there, like that mutual of like, hey, let me help you out, or mentorship. That didn't come till a little bit later. But in that beginning, when I was trying to find those answers, there was no one that was like willingly wanting to try and help anyone out.
Was there podcasts like this or like any creator?
No.
It wasn't a thing, right?
There was two things. There was I hate that I don't remember his name because I've thought about like, wait, like, you know what? I looked at his videos. Like, this guy should get credit. I don't remember the guy's name. I believe he's based out of San Francisco. He used to have these videos on YouTube, which was how to shoot nightlife photography, something like that. And he had this whole series of like people and like whatever it was and related to nightlife. That's where I started. And then the second thing for me was just photography on the net. What is it? The forum for photography.
Oh, crazy.
Which I went in there one day, just found it randomly through like a Canon blog or something like that. And I noticed there was a full nightlife concert music section. And I just read pretty much every thread that was in there. Wow. And then slowly, forums started to learn. And then eventually I met some mentors of mine that I still currently have that eventually became really helpful. And that's one of the things, like, to me, is like, I remember like wanting to know early on and no one wanted to answer those questions, that I didn't want to be that guy. If I ever got to that position, I never want to be that guy. And I don't know if I told you this, but I always tell people all the time, if I tell you anything, any advice, whatever I give you, it's not for yours to keep. At some point, someone's going to ask you the same question, and it's for you to give that same advice back. You just got to pay it forward, pass it on.
I love that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And that's like what it's all about.
And that's a big reason why we started this podcast, is because we don't know everything by any means, and we're obviously still learning every day. But through having done this for how long we have been
like
doing it,
getting advice from people like you or other people that we really look up to, you know?
We always wish that when we were first starting out, we had a podcast like this that we could tune into and have our questions answered. And
So you said you got started in nightlife. How did that like come, or like how did you pick up a camera, and then like how did it transpire into what it is now?
So my mom's an artist,
Okay.
and from every medium, from painting, photography, jewelry making, stuff like that. And she always had cameras, so I would always just take her cameras and just shoot around. You know, anything serious.
Right.
But I was always the friend with the camera.
Sure.
That was always who I was. And you know, years later, I had a buddy of mine who was starting out as a producer in DC, who actually works for Pete as well.
Okay.
And he asked me just like, hey, can you come out and shoot some photos and videos of me? And I was like, sure, anything. It was one of my best friends. So I was like, of course, anything to help you out. When did it? I didn't think much of it. At that moment, I didn't know that was a thing. And the promoter who had hired him, like I guess saw that we posted on like Facebook and YouTube, and he was like, hey, come do this for me. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, do what? Right. And he was like, no, like this, like come do this every week. And that's how it kind of like that's when I started to try to figure out what this was. And that's how it came about. And then as time went on, like I met club owners, promoters in DC, and kind of started bouncing around through clubs and stuff like that.
Are you from DC?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I was we were just talking earlier how I was just in DC this past weekend shooting at Echo Stage, and the guy who started Echo Stage, this guy by the name of Pete, is just like a legend.
Oh, fun.
And I got to meet him.
Yeah.
And so he's the one who kind of gave you your start?
Not the first one, but like when I got into like EDM and concert photography, music photography, the first venue I shot was one of his venues. And as he kept growing and he kept growing the scene in DC, you know, bigger venues, all that stuff, I just kept growing along, started meeting artists, management, stuff like that. So that got me like my start in the business.
And how old were you at that time?
26, 27, around there.
And so you'd picked up a camera though all throughout high school?
Yeah, through high school and in college and stuff. But I never like took it seriously till probably around like 22-ish, around there. 23-ish maybe.
So question for you. You kind of fell into the nightlife scene almost by like accident.
Yeah.
And I recently got into the nightlife scene as well, kind of by accident, kind of by just like good luck. Is there advice that you would give maybe to an up and coming photographer or videographer that wants to get into the nightlife scene and shoot concerts or clubs?
Honestly, I encourage it. You get to learn how to shoot in low light in like crazy conditions, like probably no production, and you're forced to try to make something beautiful out of nothing. It forces you to want to learn how to operate your camera. You need to learn how to ISO, shutter, all these things. Like it helps. To me, is like without that, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at. You know, I learned all these things because of that, because I was shooting clubs with zero production, no lighting, and trying to make something out of it. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good avenue. It's not for everyone. It's tiring. It's a lot of work.
I'm exhausted.
But it helps, you know, it can help if you take it seriously. You know, if you take advantage of it, like just with anything, if you're put in a position, take advantage of it, learn from it, and then grow from it and take it with you throughout your career, you know.
How important would you say like networking was when you were starting out and just getting your foot in the door in various aspects of concert photography? So
to me, I always joke with like in private that I collect friends. Like to me, like if I go somewhere, I'm my hands out there. I'm getting your email before we leave. I want to know who you are, what you do, and how we can work together. You know, so for me, it's like from the beginning, you should be doing that. Like that's something that. I mean, without networking, I mean, where could we be? You know, it's like, you know, that's how we met.
Yeah.
You know, you networked with Maddie at some point or another. Same thing with me. Like I met her through mutual friends, and there's a connection. You just never know.
Yeah.
You never know like what's going to happen with who you meet when you meet them. So to me, it's like always go out, say hello, shake hands, take emails, take contacts, all of that.
What is the saying you do? Your network
is your network. No, it's just opposite.
That's it.
Your network is
your network.
Yes, there it is. Your net worth is your network.
No. I think it's opposite.
Your
network is your
You guys
network.
got me all confused because these headphones are tripping me out, and so I'm like kind of hearing you, and I'm like, yep, that's right.
But your net worth is your network. No, other way.
Dog, it's the other way. Your network is your net worth.
We need to get it on a poster, and we can look at it. We'll reference it.
Right
Perfect.
there.
That's our mission statement at 505.
What is your network? 505. One question I'll ask you guys.
Okay. Yeah, we could tell you. I've been getting so many TikTok questions about that.
It's like, yeah. Do we want to? Well,
this is a very important question. So I'm just gonna go with this answer. We're just gonna go with it on the spot. 505 is the New Mexico area code. And we're just going to ride with that. Somebody comment that. They go, it's the New Mexico area code. Yeah. That's what it is. I'm like, okay. Then you win, my friend. You win the battle. I don't think we should say it.
It's risky.
This is a risk.
This is kind of a basic question, but I always get so curious about this. What is in your camera bag when you go to shoot a concert? Let's say what's like a typical show you're shooting?
Canon or a Sony guy?
I'm a Canon guy.
In low light, interesting.
Welcome to the crew. Welcome to the crew.
But I'm not giving you nuts on that.
But I'm maybe changing.
Oh,
TBD.
Hot take.
TBD.
Okay,
You go into the low light.
TBD. We're not gonna say who. Then no one's paying me or giving me anything for free yet, so no one's getting any plugs. But Canon's been with me from the beginning.
Are you a dual wield kind of guy? You strike me as a dual wield guy.
Yeah, big time.
It's just too many things happening. I have an anxiety of missing something. I don't while switching lenses. And something's gonna fall. Like, no, I'm already ready.
So you have like a long lens and like a wide angle.
So I always do standard on a 5D4. I do a 7200. Always doesn't leave the camera. Stays there. On my 1DX2, I switch from a fisheye, wide, 2470, and then mix of primes, give or take, depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing.
Do you have like a favorite photo you've ever taken? Which is going to be hard for anyone to see it, but if you could describe it, I'd love that.
We'll throw it up on the screen.
Yes and no. Okay. There are photos I enjoy that I've taken that I'm proud, but I feel like I really haven't done something that can hold its value in time.
Sure. So shooting like a similar thing every night, do you leave some nights and you're like, oh, I got a shot that is unreal. Yeah.
I've been even like cocky enough to like call it out. Like there's one instance
I love that. Let's go.
In Australia, we did Ultra Australia Melbourne and do the show, everything. I already knew what it was going to look like. I mean, not the venue itself, but it's Australia. We had the sunset. It was they were doing closing, but the closing time, because it's Australia, it's right at sunset. Like that's the last set.
Who are you shooting?
Chainsmokers.
Okay. Gotcha.
I already knew what it was going to look like. It's Australia. It's going to be a beautiful sunset. And do the photo. The first photo I took was the one I knew I wanted to take. I took it. It worked out just as I wanted. Finished the show. We go back to the green room. I'm editing, but we're kind of running out. But I edited that photo first. And as I'm walking out, the owner of the festival is there at the door. And he was like, oh, how was it? Did you enjoy it? I was like, dude, I crushed it. I was like, believe me, I got fired. I was like running out, a laptop in hand. I was like, oh, you're going to love these. And then like the next morning, the guys posted it. And one of his comments was like, wow, way to call your shot. Like, you did it. I was like, I told you, I wasn't kidding.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm not like that all the time. Yeah, it was just I was in the moment.
Sometimes we
talk about that. We get a shot and you're like, dude, it does me off, dog. You kidding?
And we talk about like how I'll be like in a bad mood shooting. I'm like, I haven't gotten that thing, and then you get it, and you're like, this is a great thing. I feel way better now. What is that photo? Can you describe it?
So it's just it was one of the first time the band, with Matt McGuire, was at a festival. And it was the three of them went up on stage as the first song is going up, and they had these flares. It was one of the first. It was actually the second time they did a flare, because the first one was Ultra Miami. And
I remember that set. That shit was.
We watched that set.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So it was. I mean, sunset. Australia sunset. It's just every color of the rainbow of the spectrum is there. And I just made sure every color showed up. There was pyro going off, and it was just symmetrically was just perfect.
Were you front of house?
I was behind them. I was behind them, so because the sunset was.
And that's impressive, because in Australia the shutter goes backwards, right?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, it's reverse. It's really hard to get a photo properly.
Okay, so 2 follow-up questions to that. Australia is really cool. I've never been. What's like the coolest place that photography has taken you?
I mean, it's got to be everyone's number one spot for that. If I hear somebody tell me something else other than this, it's because you haven't been.
Oh, this feels like a hot take, and I'm so excited.
Tokyo. It's just Tokyo, Japan. There's no place greater than Tokyo, Japan. It's beautiful. It's culture of the country. There's so much to do.
I like the lights and stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's a good place to shoot shows too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
do you go off? Do you get like a little bit, like a couple hours to wander?
Every time we've been, we do, and I've been going to Tokyo since I was 21. Instead of going to spring break, I actually went to Tokyo for 2 weeks.
Oh, that's sick.
Instead of going to like Cancun on like my senior
Cabo
year,
or whatever.
I was like, my mom was like, "Why are you doing that? It sounds so dumb. Cabo, Cancun. Go to something place nice. Go get a culture." And she threw out some countries out there, and we settled on Tokyo, me and my buddies, and we went. Sick. And since then, I was like, this is the place. Like, I don't.
It's a far flight from DC at the time. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was like 18 hours, I think.
You flying private though?
I wish back then. Not to there, not from there.
Yeah, what's the deal with this huge jet that I've been seeing?
Yeah,
it's not mine. Just so everybody knows.
The massive jet.
I always say, make sure you tag your sponsors, everybody. All right, there's not mine. I mean, it's nice.
It's a beautiful jet.
Park.
Yeah.
Is it theirs?
No, it's always rented.
Yeah.
You don't want to own the jet.
No, yeah, you gotta.
You don't want to. Just like you don't want to own the red.
Boat. Yeah, you don't want to own the red
or the boat.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to have the friend that owns it.
Yeah,
true.
Exactly.
Or just rent it.
Exactly.
Do they do the Uber helicopter? I've heard this.
And it's only in Miami. I've only seen it in Miami. It pops up in my Uber when I'm in Miami.
That's so crazy.
In New York, our buddy Brian that lives down below, he did do it in New York. He said it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
The fly neon or neon.
Brian from 405's using the helicopter.
He's using the helicopter.
He couldn't afford to get the 505.
He's using the helicopter to come up here. He lands on the roof.
That's amazing.
Takes a step down.
Okay, so I do want to get into how you got connected with the Chainsmokers and started shooting that. But I do kind of want to take it back because we touched on how you're from DC. Now you're out in LA.
Yeah.
Tell us that origin of you're shooting nightlife in DC and then what brought you out here?
Chainsmokers did.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, they didn't bring me out here. I still had to take myself here. But they brought the idea of just move to LA already. And I fought it for so long where I was like, there's no need. Everything that I do for you guys works great from where I'm at. I love where I'm from. So I never wanted to move. And then the year before I moved, I kept coming here for random stuff that I had to do for them. And it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I'm kind of tired. Maybe maybe it is the move. And then the more I was here, the more I was like, oh, it's not so bad. I always thought it was the worst place ever. I don't know why. I just thought it was. I think it's an East Coast thing. And then when I got here, I was like, man, I was wrong. Dude.
Yeah.
This place is amazing. And then eventually just decided to make the move. And they were right. It was like I was here and I started doing so much more.
What year was that?
That was 2018.
Okay.
Do you have anything holding you back and you see family? No, you're just ready to roll. That's great.
It was just sort of at that moment, there was nothing holding me back. It was just more ego, or not ego, but just in my own mind, I was like, I don't need to do this.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
But once I landed here, it was just took off running. I was like, and I'm never leaving. Yeah, just so everybody knows. I'm never leaving.
Hey man, that's kind of how I've turned. So I moved from Minnesota, and then just this year, I'm like, I'm not gonna go back. No, dude. This rocks.
Yeah.
So they convinced you to come out, but then, so how did you get connected with them in the first place?
Through Pete.
Okay.
They used to come to DC to do these shows for the promoter that I worked for, the club owner, and I met them. It was a small club. It was, I think, 350 cap maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I didn't know them at the time. I didn't know who they were at the time. This was before Selfie, before all that.
Before, right before Rose's situation?
Way before Roses.
Way before Roses.
Way before Roses. Probably a year and a half or so before Roses. And I met them at the club, had a great time. I was like, man, these guys were amazing. I don't know who they were, but this was a fun night. And then months later, I saw them at a festival. And it kept happening where I saw them at a festival. I got to know them, and they came back to DC a couple more times. So there was that bit of oh, hey, it's Danilo. Hey, good to see you. Oh, we're gonna get good photos or stuff like that. And it was a year they were at Electric Zoo. They were not a headliner, but it was I don't know how to put it. It's second,
right third,
below
whatever.
It.
Yeah.
But they were at a second main stage. They were doing a mid set because I think they were doing another show right after, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. A mid-set, stage packed. That never happens at any festival. And obviously, it's in New York. The New York guys, their fans came. But halfway through the set, there was a thunderstorm warning, and the festival shut down. The plug was pulled halfway through the set. So they only did 30 minutes over an hour and let's say 10-minute set. But I got one photo that in our photo list was needed because that year there was no media. outside media aside from the in-house festival team to take photos. They wasn't allowed. So I was assigned to their stage because I knew them. I was like, I know them. It'll be easier this way.
Right.
I saw that they wanted one photo on a list that they sent over for media, and I got that photo. Rainstorm's coming. Everything's shut down. So I go to the trailer and I'm editing. So there's nothing else to do. So I'm just gonna edit. Rainstorm passes. I come out of the trailer, and their manager Alex, who's one of the Chainsmokers, they're standing right outside. So I was like, "Oh, hey, I got your photos if you want them."
Right.
And they were just like, "What, already?" I was like, "Of course."
Yeah, lightning.
And I sent the photo over, and they ended up loving it. And that's kind of like a month later, it was like, "Hey, do you want to come and do some shows with us?" And that's how I kind of started.
Wow.
And then you just like saw them kind of explode, which is probably crazy.
Seriously.
So when I came on, it was right as Selfie was coming out, which obviously wasn't supposed to be what it became, but it became what it is,
Right.
And then obviously came Roses and everything else, and the rest is history. But yeah, so it was like right before then we did a Miami show, which was like the promo part of Selfie. And yeah, it's been since.
I saw them in college, $25, Eugene, Oregon. Best show.
I can be you.
The Roses had just came out, and it was so fucking awesome.
Were you here for that? You were. My freshman year, Madison, Wisconsin, our college books, the Chainsmokers opened for Chance the Rapper $5. Wow. Because I think Selfie had just come out. And then Chance the Rapper had just had like Acid Rap. I don't know how they got him, honestly, because Acid Rap was awesome. But it was the best concert ever, dude.
$5
for
wow.
$5. Yeah,
I thought I was gonna win with the $25.
No chance. No chance. Stuff's pretty cheap in Wisconsin. So that. Drinks are like $1.50.
It was crazy.
Actually, yeah, great college town.
Yeah,
what's the bar there that's really famous?
Like there's the KK, which Coast is frequented. It's fun.
There's been many hungover nights right after that spot.
Yeah.
But it's so
you guys go out there if you guys like do each other?
100%. I love that. I remember I bought a round for like 10 people of like drinks and shots.
I know where this is going.
And I was like, I was waiting for like the bill's coming. I'm waiting. I'm like, I think I took like $200 out, and I was like, because I was like, whatever, it's a tip. And she looked at me like I was dumb. Yeah. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And I looked at the bill, and it was like $38.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Shot is like $3. Depending if there's not a special,
$3.
Dude, it was.
Yeah. Well, there's this thing called Friday After Class, and on Fridays at the KK, it's buy one get one free.
See, okay,
and already a drink is like $3.50.
$3.50.
This is insane.
And you get grilled cheese.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
$1 grilled cheese.
I didn't know about the grilled cheese.
Drinks.
But it's funny because the KK, the college club, it's like a dirty, gross basement. It shouldn't
It's
be
a
what
black
it is.
hole. It's a black
It's
hole.
not fun, but it's awesome and it's so fun. But it's not fancy at all.
Can't believe you guys had that cheap of drinks.
Yeah, dude.
We had $8 drinks. I thought that was like the best thing ever. But at the time, I thought it was like really expensive. I was like, "Mom, can you please put $8?"
I remember
in my
saying
bank account?
like, I want to go out, but it's $4 a drink.
Back in
I
college,
literally
man.
said that out loud for sure.
I was stoked when I got that bill. I was like, "What? Just keep it coming."
Running
I was like,
back
"We're
drinks
balling out
on me
here
all night.
Yeah, you could. It's like cheaper than water in Wisconsin. That's
That's
their Bible.
unreal.
Okay, so you've shot for them, and then you obviously shoot for other artists as well.
Yes.
So how does that work with like? Do you have to like prioritize Chainsmokers? Then like if there's an open date, you can shoot for other people, or like how does that? How do you balance that?
I always have. I always give them priority over my schedule. Have given them for like the past 6-7 years now.
I had no idea you had been shooting with them for so long.
Yeah.
Which is really fucking
that's
cool.
awesome.
A long time. But if we're not doing anything, they themselves have told me, I was like, "Hey man, go get your bag. Like we're not doing anything. We're not just gonna stop you from doing anything like that." So
That's awesome.
yeah. So it's been great. I mean, I get to work with them, work with whoever I want right after. So.
Do you make your living fully off of just shooting artists, or is there anything else that you, as a creator, like?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Now it's getting a little bit more diverse. You know, in COVID, you got to learn. It's like
Absolutely.
you know, it's like holding just one thing as your main source of income. It's not smart.
Yeah.
Especially when it can just go away. So I kind of took the time during COVID to specialize or learn other things and kind of expand on what I do, but add other things to it.
Word.
So yeah.
I think we all resonate with that.
Oh yeah,
Especially in COVID.
We're just trying to get streams going.
Just trying to work as many jobs as possible at all times.
Get bags.
Yeah.
As a lot of the work that you do right now, are you posting on social and then incoming clients from that way, or is it from mutual connections that you've met and they're like, "I know this guy, he's a really good photographer, I'm gonna reach out to him," or like how does that work for you? Because you know, it's obviously it's changed. When we were younger, we were like hustling to send out emails, and now it's like people come to us, and that's a really weird thing to have now, you know?
I'm lucky enough that that's where I'm at now, where I mean, there's a lot of times I do look for work, and you know, myself, like if it's an artist I don't know, or management, and I just happen to meet them, I'll go ahead and reach out and stuff like that. But there's a lot of work that comes to me now just because of what I've done in the past. Right now I have a love-hate relationship with Instagram, mainly personal. I just don't know. See, to me, like I've learned not to care about the likes and that stuff, but I'm just trying to figure out what I want to do with my content. There's a lot of stuff I've photographed the past 4 months, and I think I've made 2 posts. And it probably took me like weeks to even just be like, oh, okay, I'll post this now. If you look at now, it's like a lot of photos of me, golfing. Sure. A lot of like random stuff. I'm just like, I'm just going to throw stuff in there. Like, I don't care. Like, I just want it to be fun. It didn't feel fun for a long time. It felt like work.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Yeah. I feel like that's why I like TikTok so much. It's like I'm just throwing stuff up that I like, and I'm like, I don't give a shit what the feed looks like. And Instagram, I feel like I almost get like an anxiety when posting on the goddamn app.
It's almost like a portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. I post like, I don't know. There's something about posting that platform that bugs me now for some godforsaken reason. Also, I hate that when I scroll, it's just like every other post is an ad. Yeah. And that bugs me. That bugs me about being on the app. But then I go on TikTok and I'm like, God, I just watch stuff for way too long. I gotta like,
that's why my TikTok is, if you go to my TikTok, you won't know what I do for a living. My TikTok is just me golfing. That's it.
So we heard about the golfing TikTok.
I recently stumbled upon your TikTok, and I had no idea that you like to golf. And I was like, oh, this is hilarious. I also was like, oh, maybe this is like his second account that he just does golfing, and then he has like a photo one.
That's awesome.
Can you kind of touch on that though? Because we talk about how it's important to do things outside of shooting, right? To kind of keep you
I was
fresh.
Gonna ask, like, do you get burnt out, like with
I have. Yeah, I did after 2019. I think creatively, I hit a block where I was like, you know, one of those things like I gave it all. I gave it my all. I left it all out there type thing. And I started some projects early 2020 that I was like stuck over and over and over again. At the end of the day, they came out how I wanted them, but it was a harder process to get to the finish line than it was before. And it took me a while to kind of get over that. And obviously, COVID and quarantine happened, so it didn't help.
Right.
So I mean, what was the question again?
Do you feel like it's really important for you to have an outlet like golf?
Oh yeah. So for me, photography was a hobby. It turned into this. You know, this is not what I thought photography was going to take me. But I love that it did. You know, I love that I've always enjoyed doing it. I always enjoyed being creative and sort of releasing that. But it's a job, you know. I have to worry about taxes. I have to worry about this and the other. And when I started kind of like getting back into golf, because I've been playing golf for a while, but so much work, I never could get into it. Obviously, quarantine helped and all that stuff. And kind of was like, oh, you know, I'm enjoying just being out here. I'm enjoying not thinking about anything else except for hitting that little ball. Could be good days, bad days of golf. I still had a great time. I didn't care how bad it was. And lo and behold, just like I've taken everything where I'm like, I really like this. How do I make money out of this? Yeah. I started working with some golfers doing social media stuff and content. And oddly enough, like I have to thank her, even though it's like a super random person. I went on a Hinge date and we were talking. And as we were like getting to know each other, she asked me what I was doing. So I was like, obviously there's no music, there's no concerts. So that's not what I'm doing. So I was like, oh, I'm working on this golf thing, this golf project. And this person doesn't know me, like just barely getting to know me. And she was like, hey, but like you're doing it again. Like you're taking a hobby and now you're working. And it hit me, like I didn't tell her till this day. She probably doesn't even know that. But I took a step back and I was like, I don't want it to become work, because then I don't want it to be a thing where it's like, then I'm not enjoying it. Where I'm like, if I'm out there, I'm constantly thinking I have to shoot or I have to do this or, you know. So I was like, you know what? She's got a point. Yeah. You know, it's like maybe this is a personal thing that I just keep to myself, and it worked.
I think that's so important.
I don't know what it is about. It's either maybe the mentality in LA or whatever. I think about this all the time where like, I'm like, oh, I enjoy doing that. Like, why am I not making money on that? How can I make money on that? I think about that all the time. Like every little thing. It's so important to keep things to yourself, I feel like.
I remember you told me how you like to play guitar and you wanted to
like in high school.
Yeah, you wanted to like be a musician and like do it as your career, and you're really glad that you didn't, because now you just like jam with your guitar in your room, like just for fun.
Nobody. I don't.
We just hear him through his doors. Just hear him through his doors.
I think that's really important. And I used to struggle with that a lot. I'm like, I should have maybe done that, and but. And I mean, luckily, music, similar to golf, is just so hard to make money unless you're like the best person ever at it. So I think it's so important to keep stuff for yourself. But yeah, and that helps with not get just burnt out.
Yeah, it's my outlet where if I'm tired from shooting or work or whatever, I'll just go out and play. I mean, there's times I'll just take a week off and I'll just play all week.
That's awesome.
But, my roommate makes the joke, there was a point where like, so I was in DC last year for like a bit. Just went home, kind of take a refresher. I came back. And when I came back, I was like, you know what? I want to be back, see friends, go out and just enjoy life for the moment. I don't want to think about work. And I was playing golf pretty much every day. And he made a joke. It was like, oh yeah, Danilo's living his semi-retired life, just playing golf.
Mini retirements, man.
I was like, hey, that sounds pretty good. I'm kind of enjoying it. But then like work started back, and I was like, I'm back in.
Dude, it's funny that golf frustrates me so. My dad describes golf as a long walk ruined, which it's so frustrating. It's so good for you. You must be good at it if you enjoy it.
I've gotten better. I've gotten much better. I've dedicated the time where I'm like, I've improve, or I'm like, I just want to keep improving.
Any lessons or no? Were you just straight like, I'm just gonna practice?
Not yet, but I have buddies the guys who I was doing work for, they've been kind enough to kind of give me like pointers and little lessons here and there, and like fixing certain things. So it's worked. So
and you get tips from like the top guys, I assume then.
Yeah, I mean they're good. So I was like, I took advantage of it in that moment. I was like, you know what, I'm not. You're on your own now, but hey, can you tell me like how to fix this? Or,
I'm with Tiger Woods.
I wish that'd be great.
I'm running Tiger Woods' TikTok account.
I just shot with Max Homa or whatever, and I was like just shooting him, and he can drive it so far. I think I told this it was just blew my mind. I've told everyone I know. I'm like, you should see this ball. I couldn't film it. There was no way to capture it at all. It was like him and Snappy Gilmore. You know the guy on TikTok it was like him doing I actually don't know if I can say this, but whatever. We'll get over it. They won't see it. Really cool to see him though. Nicest guy in the world. And I would definitely ask him like, when you're like holding, you like gripping, you interlocking, you overlapping,
Hey, it helps.
It does help. So. It's interesting to know what they do.
Just like, hey, can you hold my camera? Let me get your club. Just like, let me get a couple practice swings.
Oh, is this custom? Get them off the rack.
It's more enjoyable now, though.
Yeah, I bet.
It's more enjoyable now.
I bet.
Speaking of getting burnt out, though, I'm sure like as you go on tour, right, you're shooting the same show day in and day out. How do you deal with that feeling of like, man, I feel like I've gotten this shot a million times? Is it switching a lens, trying to shoot from a different angle? Like, how do you try to spice things up on a night-to-night basis when you're on tour?
So I'll give a little like insight of how my mind works for a tour. The first, especially like let's say a tour that's long, like 3 months, let's say, right, where it's going to be the same show every day. It's going to be 40 plus shows. I mean, you're going to get it all eventually. I try to do that within the first 5 shows. I want to get everything possible in the first 5 shows. So the first 5 shows that you see that and all the content, it's kind of gonna look the same, but I'm just trying to cover the basis of the entire show. After that is where I'll focus on specific times, specific moments, and then I over focus on those moments to try to find like even the smaller of details, and that's when I start to enjoy it, and that's when like the content becomes a little bit more fun, less kind of robotic, and more, I don't want to say artistic, but it just has different takes on the same thing that you see every day. There was a moment where like I could see the difference in comments like that I was getting from the beginning to the end, where they were like, enjoying more of the newer content than before. I was like, I know it's on purpose. I do that on purpose, mainly because obviously there's PR, management, marketing needs,
all kinds of boxes you got to check.
Right. So for me, it's like I want to do that at the beginning, so I don't have to worry about later on. I was like, did I get this? I don't want to worry about that. So I get it all out of the way, and then it's kind of like me time now to create.
You just experiment, kind of, just like get weird with it.
Yeah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
There's times that even if it doesn't, it could be like a moment that even if it's a blurred photo, it just may still work, and just run with it.
Yeah, it's sick.
Do you find that that's because like I shoot sports, I'm shooting a lot of the same thing every single night, right? And I feel like that is the most fun time when you fail and you're like, fuck, okay, I'm gonna try and get this, like I'm gonna try and change this up a little bit. How important would you say it is to actually like continue to try new things? Because I think as a creative, you got to fail in order to like get some of your best stuff. You got to like continuously trial and error. You know? So what do you talk to me a little bit about that in concert?
Well, I always say like you got to keep evolving, you know, especially one with anything that's new in regards to technology. You got to keep evolving.
You're an early adapter, would you say?
I try to be, not always or something. For example, I'm a late adapter to like TikTok, and I did not like the app. But I was like, I'm not gonna dance in there. Like, well, I'm like, that's not me.
Right.
But I can look now and be like, you know what? No, it does work. There's so many different ways you can show, or you can use the platforms.
In the aspect, yeah.
And it's that evolving. I see a lot of photographers that get stuck in their own ways. They're extremely talented. They're you know, everyone knows their names, but there's nothing different about what they do. And for me, like I'm guilty of that too. But you know, I sometimes take a step back and say, you know, it's time to change it up. It's time to do something different. Even if it's for the first few weeks or even months, it's not working. I'm still gonna try it. I'm still gonna see what comes out of it. And it's, to me, it's a little bit more fulfilling that being stuck in my own ways, because I see that other side. I don't want to be that. I don't want everyone to always think like this is what he does. You know, totally. For a while, you know, especially when I wanted to get into pop music artists, I was to management and labels. I was the DJ guy, you know, even though they didn't realize the Chainsmokers weren't DJs. It's a band, right? But they didn't, you know, to them, how they recognized me or knew my name was because of DJs and EDM festivals. It was like, to them they didn't understand, how can he shoot our singer if he only shoots DJs from the back? And it's like, well, you should look at other stuff I do.
Right. Yeah.
And I've always wanted to not be stuck in that. So to me, it's like the evolution of how you shoot, what you're shooting, your edits, you know, go crazy. Like, to me, it's like I would always do the same edits, and I get stuck in that sometimes. Where I will, you know, it's like my little safety blanket of like, I know, right? I know what I like. Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
But there's other times I'll just throw something out there that's like crazy, and you know, at the end of the day, I'll look at it and I'll relook at it and I'll stare and stare and stare. I'm like, you know, I really like this. Let's save that preset for another time. You know?
Yeah.
Do you feel inspired when you go shoot something that's not concerts? Does that kind of bring it back to you, or do you think that you know what I mean?
Yes and no. There's time. I mean, I get excited to shoot other things other than concerts. There are times I try to be careful with who I'm working for. You know, I can't go too crazy, because there's sometimes I know sometimes I'm hired and they're expecting what's on my portfolio. You know, so I kind of keep
this isn't that kind of thing.
This is not the time to experiment, or like, let me throw some crazy color. No, it's not that. I know, so I'll gauge it. And there's other times like I'll have conversation with either artists, or like I've shot some sports and I wanted to try different things, like a more like in your face type things, but I've never dealt with athletes. I was just like, I don't know how close I can really get. And I told them, I was like, hey, like, dude, man, I'm gonna be like right in there. Like, don't worry. Like, you're not gonna hit me. I'm gonna be close, but I'm gonna get away. And I kind of work it like that, where I'm like, I try to gauge the person, the client. Yeah.
Do you have any moments on tour that you're like, holy shit, I can't believe this is my life and what I'm doing?
Yeah, many times.
Yeah.
It hit me in a funny way. It hit me in DC. We did I don't know what it's called now, Capital One Arena. It's changed names so many times. I don't know. But the basketball arena there, where the professional basketball team plays, go back. The arena is actually located 2 blocks from the club where I started.
Oh, crazy.
So it's like the club where I started is just 2 blocks away, and the arena's right there. So it's like, you know, and it was like when we did it, it had been 10 years from when I started to when I was there.
Wow.
So it was like a 10-year, like, sort of like, I could see it. I was like, wow, 10 years ago, I didn't know I was going to be here at this arena, but I knew I wanted to. And a lot of friends came. And one of the things is like, before I got into photography as a business, I had what I always call my other life. You know, I was a wealth advisor, you know, Merrill Lynch, and did all that.
Interesting.
And they, the company has a box there. And a lot of the people that I used to work with were in the box, and they were texting like, hey, we're here, like, come say hi. And I mean, I was wearing like all like tour gear, all black, you know, everything. I showed up and they had just come from work, because I believe it was a Thursday when we played.
Suits and ties.
It was like suits and ties. I said hi to everybody, but it made me think, I was like, I can't imagine myself still doing that, still wearing the suit and the tie and worrying about, like, I don't know, numbers and this and the other. And it hit me in that moment. I was like, it's like it took 10 years, like, to get here, but I am here.
If you could tell that kid that was shooting the club next to the arena like 10 years ago, would you just freak out if you were just like discovered when you're like whatever 21, like I'm going to be shooting at this fucking arena?
I would say, you know what, the patience did work.
Yeah,
it's like that's something I always tell people. It's like there are certain artists that are found super quick from their start and they blow up super quick, but that's the exception to the rule. Like it's like if you're patient and you really work and you really want to learn and you keep learning and you keep trying to, be a professional, you're going to get there at some point or another. And it's just, you just have to be patient.
Everyone's got their own timeline, huh?
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's so interesting.
And especially we've talked about it on social media, it's so hard to not compare yourself.
Right.
Of like, you see these kids who are maybe younger than you, or, people that you follow that are doing what you want to do or more successful than you. And like, if you're not there yet, it's really hard. It's easy to like get down on yourself, but you kind of got to remember that like their timeline isn't yours. And like, if you are patient, like your moment will come.
I mean, even now, I see some guys, some creators doing like Spencer Miller, for example. He's 22 years old. And he's doing some of the craziest things I've ever seen.
He's 22?
Yeah, he's 22 years old.
Dude,
maybe he just turned 23.
I bought some After Effects template from that kid, dude. I didn't know he was that
young. His 3D shit is
crazy. It's on another level.
It was like, it's funny to see his mind work. And it's like very interesting because we think very different. But the kid works.
Right.
He puts in the work and he does all these crazy things that I don't know how to do. I don't know how to do 4D world mapping and this and the other.
Crazy shit he's doing.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, it's like, I could easily just sit there and compare myself, but he does what he does, I do what I do, and our timelines work regardless,
Do you have people like in the space that you like look up to or just really admire, like similar to him or other people like that?
There's a few. Yeah, there's a lot of artists that I always answer. I don't want to say I always answer the same names, but there's a number of photographers that I enjoy looking at their work. I always say like number one on my list is always Greg Noir. Like his work is phenomenal. I don't see anyone else doing what he does. I think sometimes like I've even tried to emulate some of the things. Okay. I'm like, how did he get this? Like, where was he? Because I've been at those stages. Where was he standing? Yeah. There's that sort of way.
It's fun, like reverse engineering a product like that.
Like I've done it at least in Lollapalooza, because he's a big Lollapalooza photographer, and I'm like, I've been at this main stage. How did he get this? Like, I try to go back and walk it, but he's like definitely like top. And there's somebody like. I always forget his last, not forget his last, but I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Julian Bashel, I believe is his name. He's a Zedd's photographer.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful photos. Yeah. Like this kid takes like, this is art. Like this is, and it's EDM. Yeah. And it's a DJ, but this is art. Like this is like real art. I'm like,
it's Zedd's?
Yeah, Zedd's
we're gonna have to look this up after.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Yeah, he's one of my favorites one right now to look at.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, plug the people.
Zedd's stuff is fucking sick. Here's kind of a fun question. I was in Omnia shooting this past weekend.
Okay. Great venue.
Dude, it's fucking lit there.
Oh yeah.
You get a lot of drunk girls asking you to take their photos. How do you deal with that?
Just take it.
You just say okay.
But in my mind, I'm like, you're never gonna see this photo. Right. Like
that's the beauty of it. Yeah. They don't know that.
Right.
But in that moment, there's two things that are gonna happen. You either gotta go get back and do your job, because your guys are wild. There's a lot of things happening.
Dude, they're moving.
Yeah. So do you really want to miss it or not? You usually don't, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, just take the photo. They don't know where it's going. They think it's going somewhere. And at the end of the day, I mean, whether it's going somewhere or not, it doesn't. Just get on.
What's one? What's one little snap?
Yeah. It's like, what's one? Yeah. So just. You know what? They're gonna leave happy. Sure. And they're gonna be like, "Man, that guy took our photo." Like, and you just made somebody's night, and you didn't even know it.
And maybe they like the band more, which is kind of the whole thing, anyways.
Yeah.
It's like,
I always try to be nice to fans.
Got it.
Like you have to be. You're kind of an extension of who the artists are.
So true.
Do you get like when you're shooting their shows, like people yelling out to you at all?
There's been a few times.
That's funny.
Yeah. But it's because I've been there like for so long. They're like they're used to seeing me there. There is a funny. Like moment in Germany, these two girls had a big like cardboard poster in the crowd that said like World War Joy Tour, and it was like, we just came here to see Danilo.
Nice.
And I didn't see it. I was taking photos, and like Alex is looking at me. He's like, Like he was like, look. And I was like, what am I looking at? And then I saw it. I get embarrassed by that kind of stuff like that, but it was awesome. I had my 7200, so I just zoomed in in it. I took the photo. I was like, they DM me and everything, so I like reshared everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so fun.
Is there anything, you've done a lot in the space. You've taken some incredible pictures, worked with some of the biggest artists of our generation. Is there something that you really want to do that you're like, this is on the list and I really want to check this off?
At some point, I'd like to direct a music video. I'm not a video guy. I'm not a cinematographer, videographer. I've directed photo shoots. I've directed and creative directed magazine shoots and campaigns. But I feel like, I don't know if it's an LA thing where it's like, if you're in music, you're not shooting TV. If you're in TV, you're not shooting movies. Whereas like I'm a photographer, so in the video space, I'm not known in the video space, but I think I could do it. I think from an image perspective, I like to
you just frame up your photo and then press record.
Right.
Yeah. We've our friend that lives down the street. He's like an incredible photographer. His name's Hayden, and he's just recently started dabbling with video, and he's posted some things. I'm like, all right. Forget I told you anything. Don't do it because you're getting too good too fast.
We hire him for photo. Like, let's stick to photo.
Yeah, let's just stick to the photos because your photos are good.
I think with directing, it's just all like having the vision and knowing how you want the people to move. You don't need to know how to work the camera. In fact, 3 guys here that do. So if you look at a higher production company, I'm just trying to swing the deal.
See, I like a networking.
Your network is your net worth.
Loud Luxury asked me if I had done any music videos before, and I was like, not really, but like I'm down. So like I'm gonna say, I know the best director in town, bro.
Well, that one will co-direct.
Perfect.
There we go. Perfect.
We camera up, you guys co-direct.
I need someone to hold my hand while we do it.
That's funny.
Okay, so you're getting ready to go on tour. Kind of. It got postponed a little bit.
Yeah. So right now, that's not where I'm thinking at. So right now, earlier I joked that there was like some news.
Yes.
So right now I'm like focusing on something very specific. Chris Yoder.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've spoke about Joe Larkin, James Winterhalter. They own the company Curza. So I just partnered up with them to be their head of photography for the agency.
Nice.
And expanding that part of their agency and helping them like explore that side of photography. And that's where we're at now, where it's been like festivals, artists. We recently started we got a 360 deal with Nightmare to handle everything from photo, video, social media management, everything.
The whole nine
yards.
The whole nine.
That's awesome.
And when that came about, that deal, I was like, you know what? I want to do more of this. I want to take an artist and be in control of the whole creative narrative of it. Whether I'm doing one part or they're doing the other. And like Chris Yoder and myself, we've known each other for so long. It's like we started almost around the same time. We met like 3-4 years after we started. We've done tours together. We worked with artists together, and we've always gotten along great. That there was these projects that I kind of needed help in, and they would help me out, and vice versa. With like from a photo perspective, I would help them out. And it just made sense. It was like, why haven't we done this? And that's where we're at now. So my mind is focused on the agency sort of life, where it's like, I want to take an artist or a brand or whatever it is and be in full creative control of everything that we do. So right now I'm not thinking tours and music. We'll get there. It'll come. It's always going to be there. But I felt like I have to give myself the time to dedicate now to this, because otherwise I won't be able to do it. I want to be able to grow it. I want to be able to like take it somewhere like it's meaningful and like compete with whichever agencies that are doing big stuff out there. I think we can. It's like 4 creators who've been touring for years with some of the biggest artists. We're looking at Diplo, Zedd, Skrillex, Chainsmokers, like even in pop, like I've done Coldplay and Florida Georgia Line.
Right.
So it's like, how do we take all that and merge it, our network, and merge it into a big agency to do what we want to do? So right now, that's what we're doing.
That's sick.
It's like
incredible.
We have like a bunch of like great festival brands that work with us and trust us to do everything. Like I said, Nightmare, like his entire team. And some other things that we're working on. We're kind of keeping quiet at the moment.
Congrats.
Yeah.
And
huge.
Hell yeah. And like
That's
creative
amazing.
direction seems like a super like seamless like transition for you. Like, I mean, down the line eventually, because you probably don't want to be touring when you're like 45 or whatever.
No. Yeah. So truth be told, I have timelines that I kind of set myself. So after 2020, I knew 2020 was going to be a slower year because they were taking a break. And I did say I was going to give myself 3 more years of touring, and then I would just focus back on my work in LA, and I would tour, pick and choose who I wanted to tour with, like if I wanted to do this tour or not. That's how I would do it. I still think I'm eventually will go to that. But technically, that was 2020. So 21, 22, that's 2 years. Right. So there's only 1 year left of that. I don't know what I'm going to do. I had just had this chat with my girlfriend. I was like, I still have like this itch where I just want to go crazy on a tour, like just 8-month tour. Yeah. Like, let me just go wild out and I'll be back in 8 months. But that's not the right way to do it. But I still have that, like, just, go savage mode in a way.
Going crazy. Like, we're messing up hotel rooms.
That's you. The young guys do that. I love a nice, comfortable bed, quiet time. Yeah. I saw your video where you're jumping. We have very different ways how we check into hotel rooms. I unpack. I take a nap.
Dude, I'm big on napping. I got to DC a few hours like earlier. I got in at like 4 p.m. They're like, dinner's at 10. And I'm like, it's still daytime. I should probably go explore. I'm like, I need a fucking nap. Yeah, like, I'm going to be up so fucking late.
10 p.m. dinner?
Yeah.
Well, they play at 12:30.
I mean, late dinner, guys. Do it, dude.
Yeah. That is one of the bad things of touring.
Yeah, bet.
And I used to be a big guy because of that, because of the late dinners and then the after show food, and it's like 3 a.m. pizzas and whatever else.
And all the calories after like 9 p.m. are not good for you. They just go straight to fat. You know?
So now it's like I have dinner before 7, and if there's like a 10 p.m. dinner, I'll nibble on things. I'll be there in spirit.
Dedication, willpower.
I will say that is one nice perk is going out to these nice dinners. It's like, you go to these nice dinners, and typically when you go out to a nice restaurant, when it's just like you and a friend or whatever, you get maybe an appetizer,
maybe entrees,
1 maybe 2 entrees. You might share some things. I mean, these guys are ordering one of everything
style. On the left side of the menu. Bring it.
Yeah, literally.
So sick.
So been getting to eat pretty good, but the lifestyles. I was telling you earlier, like, I'm like, man, I'm beat after just a 2-day weekend. I'm like recovering now, and it's 2 days later. I can only imagine. I haven't gotten to experience the tour life yet. I think I will eventually, but like, it's got to be grueling, right?
It is, but it gets repetitive, and then you get into a motion of time where it's like you have a set schedule, especially with tour buses. You get to venues, everything's on a schedule when you on those kind of tours. Like the whole exploring type thing, it's a little less because there's like so many things you got to do. Like there's press and radio and this and the other, VIP meet and greet. So everything has to fit a schedule. So it becomes repetitive, and it's kind of uniform, So you fit into that schedule. You kind of mold who you are into that schedule. So it's a little less hectic than what you're doing now. So
fair.
Because right now I know you guys are jumping from like club to Vegas immediately. Yeah, I've seen you run.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic, and everything's also still like so new to me. So I'm still like a little kid in a candy store. Like, this is fucking awesome. Like, for example, we talked about moments of being like, I can't believe like this is happening right now. That happened to me honestly this past weekend, just being in Omni and seeing how packed it was. And I remember like, I got my fucking fake ID taken here trying to get into this club at like 19.
Right.
And now I'm here like with the DJ, the club's packed. Like, I have all access, get to run around. Like, this is fucking dope.
Yeah.
And that's a club that's notorious for not allowing access to photographers.
Really?
Yeah. But you have to have a very specific certificate of insurance to work there, and it's very expensive. Yeah. So most people are like, I'm not going to pay this just to shoot one nightclub, so they don't do it. So the club says, oh, well, then you can't shoot.
Oh, crazy.
Speaking of expensive and needing insurance, Andrew this past weekend was, I don't know if I can say this, but he had 2 vodka bottles, and it's towards the end of the night, and he's like clinking them, like enjoying it. And one of them broke and spilled all over the CDJ and mixer, and you could hear it, like the music started to kind of like mess up. And so the tour manager grabbed the CDJ, and he's like, no, they didn't switch it. There was 4 decks. So they still had like an extra one that they could use on the left side, but he pulled it and he went to the green room. He's like, dude, we flipped it over and just vodka poured out of it. And he's like,
I thought you were going to say he did it like over a person. I'm picturing a girl,
no.
which would be way more expensive, probably.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Hey, have your insurance, huh?
Yeah. That's our last thing. Is that you have a piece of advice to end us with here, other than have your insurance
and patience?
Yeah, and patience.
Actually, yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, it's like one, share the advice, share the knowledge. To me, I like building a better creative community than a community of resentment.
For sure.
Like for a while, I was resentful of the earlier people that I dealt with. But then the more I found creatives that were willing to help me and help me grow, I learned I was like, that's the actual way to do it. It's like if my DMs are open, I will try to always answer as best as I can. I can't get to all of them sometimes, but I always try my best. But if I do, I always say like, hey, whatever advice I give you, it's for you to pass that on. You will get there at some point. You will be the person that everyone's DMing. Answer those DMs, like grow that same community, just like you wanted to, like 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, before you got to that place. So
I love that. Where can the people find you?
It's all right. You don't have to worry about that.
They already found him, dude.
I'm not here to plug anything.
Okay, we're gonna put your Instagram below because you guys need to go check out his work
and the golf TikTok.
Yeah, and the golf TikTok.
Let's plug the golf TikTok.
We'll link that. We'll just probably link that one only.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the 505 podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please drop a screenshot on the story. Tag all the boys. Tag Danilo. What is it? Danilo Lewis?
That's it.
That's it. There it is. Tag that Instagram, and we'll see you guys all next time.
Peace.
Peace.